Welcome to this week's edition of the Webster Tarpley program. We are here on Unbound Radio. Prometheus is unbound, and the Promethean qualities of people, I think, are increasingly unbound, or at least they can be. Now, our main topic today is going to be the emergence of the tax Wallstreet party in New York City, the tremendous fight, this magnificent struggle that has been put up by a thin line of heroes and heroines in the Big Apple, right, treading on that hot, gritty pavement of the sidewalks of New York. We're going to get a report about that, but remember, our focus here is not complaining, it's not sitting home afraid or taking counsel of fears, it's always action. What can you do to make things a little bit better? Now, the Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech anniversary is upon us. That is to say, it is 50 years ago this week and next week that the Martin Luther King speech, I Have a Dream, was carried out. Now, you got to remember what that was. It was called the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Jobs and Freedom. Notice the order. March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Freedom doesn't mean much unless you've got a job. Once you've got a job, then you've got to look around for freedom, of course. And they do go together, but there it is, jobs and freedom. And it was organized largely by Philip Randolph of the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, a union that really doesn't exist anymore, but it was big when there were sleeping cars. And if you go to Union Station in Washington, D.C., on the main concourse where some trains still depart, you will see a statue of Philip Randolph. He is the guy who did it. So it's a trade union event. The Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, Local 1199, the hospital workers in New York City, and many, many others came there. So we're urging people to come. Come and bring your sign that says Wall Street sales tax, 1%. Make Wall Street pay. And the United Front Against Austerity will be gathering on the mall on this coming Saturday for the festivities and the commemorations at 9:30 a.m. Try to come to the Smithsonian Metro stop. Smithsonian. That's one of the main ones that serves the mall. Should be open. Sometimes it's closed for big events, so don't let that knock you off. Get yourself down there to the Smithsonian, even if you have to get off at Gallery Place or the Archives or whatever it is, or L'Enfant Plaza. You can get to the Smithsonian Metro stop. Congressman John Conyers is going to be giving a speech about his bill, H.R. 1000, which is to impose a Wall Street sales tax, not as big as what we want, but nevertheless, a Wall Street sales tax, and use that to create 3 to 6 million new jobs for people who otherwise might not have any chance for employment. It's the best ticket going. We'll be talking about that in the course of the program. See you on the mall, 9:30 a.m. on Saturday with Congressman Conyers, and we'll be back in a minute. All right, our second segment here, it's the Webster Tarpley program. It's the afternoon of Tuesday, August 20th, and we do want people, if you're in the Washington area or nearby, please do come to the Martin Luther King I Have a Dream commemoration. But specifically, there's a big mall down there. You don't want to get lost in the crowds. Come to the Smithsonian Metro, and there you're going to find an event organized by Congressman John Conyers of Michigan. And think what you get. Conyers is, in many ways, the dean of the Black Caucus. He's been serving in Congress since 1965. He was elected in 1964, the year after the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. He's been there the whole time. The guy is a fighter. he's certainly earned any person of goodwill would give him a great deal of admiration. So this is a real historical figure, right? He's one of the very few that are still with us, and above all, he's still fighting. You get to support HR 1000, which, although not perfect from our point of view, at least takes some big steps down the path, right? A 0.25% tax on stock trades, it's essentially 0.02% on the derivative side, but that's still something, makes them reportable. And this then goes into jobs for the inner city, for Indian tribes. It helps keep public employees on the payroll. It's all to the good. And it's 3 to 6 million on budget, with the estimate that several million more would be generated by the multiplier factor. And you therefore also get to support Conyers and to support this, and you're really supporting, as I say, one of the most distinguished, most eminent figures of this entire civil rights movement in the United States over the last half century. The idea then is the Conyers people have invited anybody who has shown any interest in Tobin tax, transaction tax, trading tax, Robin Hood tax, sure, that too, or Wall Street sales tax, right, the real thing, to come. And it's important to be there and make that visible. When you have a big event like this, it's important that the nostalgia and the commemoration not overwhelm the programmatic part, because the communities that we're talking about here are still hurting. The youth unemployment, inner city, black unemployment is through the roof. And of course, that's the case for everybody in the United States. We need 30 million new productive jobs. Well, Conyers is here with about 6 million plus of those jobs, right? Plus the multiplier. So the Conyers group, the Tax Wallstreet group, because that's what it comes down to. Tax Wallstreet and create jobs, fulfill the promise of 1963 finally, 50 years later, will then proceed westward from the Smithsonian area towards the Washington Monument, and then end up as close as possible to the Lincoln Memorial for the principal speeches, right? But this is something that deserves people's support.